attention and do your best to take in the information and then to create and develop critical thinking responses. Okay, questions, critiques, etc. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so basically for our AP World History final project, we had to read this book called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's actually a very interesting topic right now because although the main event that occurred took place in the 1950s, the policies that it reflects on now are still being used today. The book is about an African American lady who has what they thought was cervical cancer. So they tried to treat her, and at the time, they were the scientists at Johns Hopkins Hospital, where she was being treated, were trying to find an immortal cell, or a cell that would survive in culture without dying after a few days. So when Henrietta Lacks was being treated, her cancer cells were taken and were used, and they developed the very first immortal cells. And with those cells, they created the vaccine for polio, and I mean, it pretty much led to a medical revolution.
Is that like stem cells?
Sort of, not really.
Okay.
So here's a video about Henrietta Lacks. Buy these cells to use in experiments. Hold on, the video's coming back on actually. So yeah, so they use them in experiments, and you can buy them whenever you want. I think it's for one vial of it is like $250 online.
Of her cells?
Of her cells.
Wait, what?
Her cells are mass produced to be sold.
Every 24 hours they double.
Duplicate?
Yeah, they double every 24 hours.
Is
So
there
it's
a
at an
possibility?
exponential
Is there a
rate.
possibility that they'll stop one day?
No, I mean
On their own? Did it develop?
Yeah, mitosis, but because since they're immortal, they never die, and they just keep living and living and living.
How uncommon is this in relation to our cells? I mean, how many people?
Our cells die after a couple days. Even if they didn't die, we would be huge. You know, because we produce so many cells every day.
Right,
we produce new ones, and then the old ones die, and then they produce
So I don't
new ones.
understand this. How did she not explode? How did she
It was a cancer cell only. It wasn't her actual cells. It was her cancer had this problem. That's why her cancer was such a problem. She died like 8 months, like shortly after. And
Is that typical of cancer cells or just typical of her cancer cells?
her cancer cells.
It's not common.
It's just
to
a rare
find.
Why would they
mutation.
give people cancer
Basically,
cells?
it was just a rare mutation because that's what cancer is.
That's exactly what it was. Cancer is a rare mutation during the mitotic cycle, which is when it
Right.
divides into two new cells. You see that something happens, and then scientific research.
Also, scientists are buying them.
Oh, so they use these cells and then they make something out of it? Like
Pretty much. They like to see
Experiment with them.
They experiment with them to see the effects on humans. They used it. They blew up the atomic bomb next to it to see what the effects of the radiation would have on human cells. They used them to discover the polio vaccine.
And what is that?
But what are they selling for
What are the
$250?
effects on?
A vial of her cells, like that.
Oh, for scientists.
For anyone who wants to buy it. And the main issue was they took this lady's cells without asking permission. They just took them, and then they didn't tell the family about it. And the family, like the men in the family, believe that they should have reparations and they should have money for all the good that their mother's cells have done, because they're poor and they can't even afford to go to the doctor. Like, it's that bad. And their mother was one of the most important people in scientific history. And the women in the family just believe that Henrietta Lacks should get credit for these HeLa cells, and they want her name to be known because they're proud of her. And that's actually, this issue has caused like a rift in the family, and that's another interesting topic. But what do you guys think about them taking, it was sort of at the time standard for them to take cells without asking, and it didn't help that Henrietta was African American in the 1950s, that they found it even less of a problem to take it without asking. What do you guys think about that?
I think
Well, the thing is, like, they're making millions of dollars off of this. It wouldn't even be much to the company to throw in like $1 million without helping out so much, and like there would be like no, like it would solve the problems because then the people wouldn't be asking for
A
the
good
money.
faith payment, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Very true. Yeah, they make billions of dollars.
Billions,
Yeah,
billions,
yeah.
billions.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
Matthew?
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with taking her cells. I mean, they weren't, of course,
not.
useful anyway.
Of course you wouldn't.
I'd say for the sake of
Yeah.
scientific research, it was okay.
A lot of
They
people
didn't
see
ask
there are
permission.
different perspectives. Some people say, oh, well, they didn't ask permission. Some people say it was standard at the time and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and why does she want her cancer cells anyways? Like, I just don't see the harm in.
Yeah, they're not beneficial.
Tiffany?
I don't think it was wrong to take them, but I think that even like back then I understand that they wouldn't have told her, but there comes a time when they know that it's right to tell them, the family at least. So I think that when it came, like, not even 20 years should not have gone by without them knowing. They should have known at least 10 years or 5 years later after when they took it away. So
What would you guys say if someone said, oh, well, she didn't do anything, all she did was get cancer? And the scientists who took those cells, they're the heroes, they're the ones who actually caused the smoke.
Partially agree.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't really know anything.
She was the
David-
catalyst for it. She was the tool for them.
Because if she
That
were
was all she
non-existent, they
was.
wouldn't have come up with this.
So you're saying, you people are saying that science should not be held to any sort of moral or ethical standards.
of course, that's
I mean,
Whatever works to advance science for progress, we should do it.
I think
Beyond
everything has
any
some
moral
sort
or
of,
ethical
everything should have some sort of
responsibility.
ethical base.
No, I was saying in that circumstance, I think at the time when she was ill, it was okay for them to take her cells without asking her. But like Tiffany said,
Well,
after once everyone was buying them and stuff, of course the family should know that.
Standard.
Yes.
To not ask was standard.
Right.
You understand?
Right, so that's...
Different from.
Just change what you said instead of...
You changed what you
No,
said.
he's not. He's actually
I-
making sense if you listen to what he's saying.
Wait,
to not
just wait.
ask for them was standard, but to actually take them is a different thing.
No,
To
they were...
take them- to
they
take
had-
them-
they
to
had
take them
hundreds-
was-
They had
to
hundreds
take
of
them
samples, Penengo, from different
was
nations
standard.
who went into...
And also to not ask. In other words, they never necessarily asked anyone to take their cells. They just did
Right,
it.
they just did it.
They
And
never-
they
there
never
was
asked.
never
They took all the
proposed-
cells. They had hundreds of
There was
samples
never
from different
proposed
people.
any ethical
And
standards
these are the
to do
ones that
so
survived.
at the time. Which now, but you should mention to the kids, what are the rules now?
That's why I brought this up.
Okay,
this,
good.
This is a case more recently in 1990. Well, actually, before I started this, David, you initially said that you thought it was wrong. After everyone said, oh well, after the statement like that she didn't do anything, she just got cancer. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think I agree like that it's right that they took the cells and like the cured polio thing. I just don't think it's acceptable that they can't even pay for health insurance.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
they're poor. That's
course.
I think that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I think
but
they
like the
should
rest,
pay
I think
for
it's
Of
alright.
course. And that ties into the issue of morals versus ethics. Well, because of this Supreme Court case and that it is actually technically ethical and legal to do this, morally, a lot of people find it wrong. And because of this moral ambiguity that arises with these bioethical issues, that's why it's such a controversial issue right now.